Welcome to Inside Singapore's Sports Business, the show where we pick the minds of some business leaders in the sports industry based in Singapore. This show is brought to you in collaboration with Sports Singapore and the Tote Board. My name is Adele Wong. I will be the host of this show, and welcome to the very first episode of ISSB. We are here today at the lovely Cafe Football at the Arena in Woodleigh Park. And joining us today are our two very lovely guests. We have Ms. Kimberly Koh. She is the Senior Partnerships Director at World Table Tennis. That is the Singapore-based marketing arm of the International Table Tennis Federation. Kim, would you like to tell us a little bit more about yourself and about WTT?
So World Table Tennis is actually a very young new entity. We were only started in 2018 by the International Table Tennis Federation to really redefine and reimagine the sport of table tennis. We want to present it in a way that nobody has ever seen it before. Right from the event side, creating a new event structure, having a new branding to the event, the way they will actually communicate table tennis as a sport, and also as an entertainment piece to different fans. So trying to put athletes and also fans in the center of everything that we're doing in order to turn all these athletes into real stars globally. And for myself, I've actually been in table tennis for almost 10 years now, or over 10 years actually.
Wow.
So it has been a really long time. It has been really interesting to see the way that the sport has grown and changed throughout the years.
And did you used to play table tennis yourself then?
I used to play when I was younger, so I actually played from 10 years old to 18 years old, but only as in school, so more or less casually compared to my different colleagues. Some of them are even Olympians, and so there's no comparison that's to be made.
Yeah, we have so much that we want to ask you about that. So we'll get to that in a minute. Also joining us today is Mr. Steeve Cupaiolo. Hi. He is the founder of the sports marketing agency Silk Road Sports Consulting. He is also the owner of the French Football Academy in Singapore. Tell us more about your background, Steve. It's so interesting.
Okay, hi Adele.
Hi.
I have been working in the sports market, so the sports industry for many years now. Of course, I'm French, so I was working in France before. First as a journalist when I was young, as a sport journalist, then working directly into football clubs. I work for several football clubs, especially in Ligue 1 in France. My last club was Stade de Reims. Stade de Reims, who just played against Paris Saint-Germain and Lionel Messi a few days ago. Then 7 years ago, I decided to move to Singapore to live a new adventure, working for a marketing company. And I have created 2 years ago Silk Road Sports Consulting and opened the French Football Academy in partnership with the French Football Federation. So we speak, of course, about the world champion of football. We have opened the academy less than 10 months ago now, in the middle of the pandemic. So this is where we are at this moment. Through this company, Silk Road Sports Consulting, we don't really work directly with, let's say, with clients. We create our own intellectual properties, like the Football Academy. We create our own event, our own, let's say, it could be a TV show, it could be anything, but we create that for ourselves, actually.
Right. I'm so glad that the both of you have such an extensive experience in sports and also on the international arena, so I can't wait to chat more with the both of you. Today's topic is the impact that COVID-19 has had on sports, and I'm sure both of you have a lot to share about that. So I think all of us have had our lives disrupted, there's been lockdowns. So I think after the tourism industry, the sports industry must have been really, really badly hit, right? With events and competitions being cancelled. I'm sure sports businesses have had to reinvent a lot of their services. For the both of you, what do you think the COVID-19 pandemic, how do you think it has influenced sports?
Yes, of course, it has been really badly impacted. We can speak about for the sports professional portion and of course also the amateur portion. It's basically everybody. First, financially, the impact has been really terrible. And of course, also a lot of frustration for just everybody, every amateur player, professional player, everybody. So in terms of, if we speak about the professional portion, first, huge loss of incomes because now no more sponsors, no more ticketing, no more merchandising, because no event. No event means no broadcast. Then it's like a butterfly effect in a way. No money means also a big impact on every employee. When we speak about sports, it's not only the athletes. People need to understand also that a football club, for example, is a company. It's a company, or federation, it's a company in a way. So a lot of people lost their job. That has been really complicated. Even for the smallest company or marketing company like mine, in a way, you have to rework everything. Your office, do you keep your office or not? How you spend the money? You have to recreate for a football club or whatever your sports program, how you the way you are working, how to generate money because no more sponsor, how to save money. For the athletes also, we speak about the professional athletes. We have seen all the Olympic Games or the tournament like Wimbledon. It has been really hard because now you have quarantine, social distancing. So how can you train like that? Can you train properly when you are stuck 2 weeks in an hotel just before you're doing your first game at Roland Garros in tennis Grand Slam or something like that? So the impact has been huge and it touched everything. The clubs as a company, the administration portion, the sports portion, absolutely everything. So everybody, athletes, entities, organizations, they had to reinvented themselves in terms of how do we work? What is the new business plan? You need to recreate a business plan to be sure that you're not spending money for nothing. Then if we speak about the sports on the field, how do you train, the new way to train with social distancing, and how do you even travel if you still have to do some competition because some competition still exist? It has been huge and in a way a nightmare. And unfortunately it's probably not, well, we know that it's not finished. Some maybe clubs, I'm speaking about football, really financially badly impacted, are close to disappear. Maybe we will see later some entities are going to disappear probably because close to bankrupt now. It has been really hard.
Wow.
Really hard. Yeah.
Wow. What about you, Kim? How do you feel? What you've observed so far? How has the COVID-19 pandemic affected the sports industry in general?
Yeah, I think as you said, sports industry is definitely very much heavily impacted with what Steve mentioned about, events, travel, etc. But I think a lot of time also because people don't think of sports as the most important thing in their life, debatable. But I think for a lot of people, there are other priorities that they actually have to get done. And so, that means that for sports, in terms of sort of reopening and restarting sports, they see it as a ray of hope, that things are starting to get back to normal. But often, a lot of focus is still trying to get everything else back to normal, whether that is F&B, whether that is businesses. And so sports is very, very much impacted by that as well. And from a business point of view, from a company point of view, without all this events, most of our business is around content. So, creating events in order to have broadcasts, in order to create content, and to be able to commercialize this content. And without any of these events, it was just not possible. And we see a lot of sports trying to reinvent themselves or trying to find ways to replace these lost revenues by trying to find new types of content. At the start of the pandemic, we see that a lot of companies start to use archive content. So, these are a wealth of content that has been sitting in the background that people don't really think about because you always have new, fresh, live content. And when the pandemic happens, you cannot have any live content, then they sort of go back, into this treasure trove of stuff. And then that worked for a while, and people realized that, fans are getting a bit bored. They don't want to just keep rehashing old things. So what are the new live things that we can still be doing with technology? So I think that was one big part of this entire pandemic, the way that technology has really enabled a lot of companies, a lot of businesses, a lot of sports really showcase themselves in a very different way. And for us, what it has actually done, I feel for us, is that it has brought a lot of different stakeholders together in the sport industry in order to survive together. So, whether that is athletes willing to go out of their way to showcase their own day in their life, or them being willing to do live streams or live interviews with fans, to really try and create content, both for themselves and also for the right holders also. Working together with cities, working together with friends, partners, trying to figure out how can we get through this together. I think it really did bring out that collaborative spirit of everyone. You start to see people working much closer together, people taking a step back, trying to think about what is next, how can we do this better, rather than just rushing ahead and really just trying to get through the day-to-day. So I think definitely COVID has impacted sports to a large extent, and it is a very long-lasting impact, I feel. Not all bad, of course. And I think it'd be very interesting to see how sports eventually redefines itself in the lives of everyone right now.
I'm curious to ask the both of you, just very quickly, do you feel like after being impacted by COVID-19, do you feel like the general mass public, maybe not professional athletes, but the mass public, do you think this makes them now cherish sports a little bit more?
Yeah, because first, the pandemic has created a lot of frustration, a lot. And you know how we are when we cannot do something, we want to do it anyway. And I can see that in my daily life with the academy, that people are desperate to do sports. Right. But to come back to what just Kim said in terms of content, the challenge was also for all the sports industry, professional or I'm not going to say amateur, but even every gym. How do we stay alive? How do we stay alive in terms of content, marketing, and how do we help people to stay active and stay fit? So it's true that most of them, they use social media, live on YouTube or whatever to create program, which is good, and because it's challenging, but we have no choice to be smart, be creative in terms of content, how manage the program, be smart also the way we spend the money in a way, and how we still provide, let's say, a service, or how we still pushing people, inspiring them to do sports, still doing sports. So it's true that you can use the technology, how to say, you said, to doing live content or workout or whatever. But at the same time, it's not always easy, because let's say during the pandemic, everybody was running. Running was the new trendy thing. And then thanks to the technology, and you have new app now, you can do like virtual marathon. Everybody is running alone, but at the same time, you're not alone. You can manage on your watch, on your app. But at the same time, it's something, you cannot do that for every sport. The collective sport, football is football, basketball is basketball. Maybe I'm a bit old school, but for me, it's still on ground, on the pitch, because it's also about sharing the moment with friends, sharing the moment, So, in a way, there's some positive things, because the challenge pushes us to find new ways to work.
And what about you, Kim? Do you think that after this pandemic, or as we are going through this together, do you think that people around you who are not professional athletes, do you think they will have a new appreciation for sports?
Definitely. So I think in addition to running, which Steve mentioned, a lot of people are cycling now also. Like, friends who are doing 200 kilometers around the island, and Singapore is small, so 200 kilometers basically covering the entire Singapore already. And I think we see for table tennis also, not so much in Singapore, but overseas, especially in Europe, where they have slightly bigger houses, we also start to see that people are buying tables for their backyard, because that gives them a chance to play with their family without actually having to go outside. As well. And in smaller apartments, people do get smaller tables, and we even have some people who get sort of like single play table tennis things. So you have like a ball attached to like a cable from the ground, you just kind of hit it around. And I think that's really interesting. I feel like people, even though they're stuck at home, they're probably more active than ever. I don't know about you, but I've been trying to hit 10K steps every day.
Me too. Me too. I'm a football guy, and during the first lockdown, I was running 40 kilometers a week, I never did that in my life before. Never.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more. I think we all want to know how COVID-19 pandemic has affected both of you personally and professionally. Maybe Kim, you can start first.
Yeah, so I've done my share of quarantine after traveling. Not the most enjoyable, personally, but it has been very interesting experience. Still trying to be running events while this pandemic is actually going on. I think professionally it has also impacted us because for us we work on partnerships, and as mentioned earlier that it all starts from the product, and World Table Tennis is a brand new entity which we just started, and the idea was to launch a whole new series of events in 2021 with new host cities, new structure, new media partners, new brand partners, and it's similar to you, it's not the best year to start something new. And so for us, it has not been easy trying to create something new during this period and trying to create a complete product, for brands or for media partners to actually want to get involved in. So professionally, definitely COVID-19 has impacted us a lot.
Right. What about you, Steve? How have you been personally and professionally
First,
affected?
personally, because I'm French and I couldn't first go back in my country for the last 2 years and a half, because even before the pandemic I was still in Singapore, which is extremely hard when you cannot see your family at all, and we even lost some close people in the family, couldn't go back. That has been extremely difficult. Then professionally, if we speak about the academy, we launched the academy in the middle of the COVID situation. Everybody told me that I was crazy, but in a way, we directly started with, let's say, a COVID-19 budget. It means we knew that could happen because we were in the middle already. So in a professional way, we have opened the academy in the middle of the pandemic. So in a way, we started directly with a proper COVID-19, budget. So that was quite okay. But honestly, we had to close 2 times in F4, I think, and last July. Of course, it's really difficult. So again, it challenged us. No choice to be creative. First, the way we work with the kids, because it was only bubble of 2. So doing football with only bubble of 2, what can you do? We did it, and again, because we spoke about the frustration, because I'm going to be really honest, even transparent with the own parents of my academy. I was like, no, this is not football, this is really not nice. But parents were so desperate to keep the kids, on ground outside of the apartment, the house. In a way, the program has been really successful. We call that Fit Foot. So it was between fitness and football with a ball, and many kids came, and we did 2x2 bubble in the pitch. So no choice, creative. Also new business model. We had to renegotiate every single contract with every venue stakeholder to be sure that if we have to close, you cannot lose too much money. So it's really challenging, but it forces you to, in a way, to work in a proper way. Again, to be creative, to be resilient. We did it. As I said before, the most important is to stay alive, keep the company alive, the program alive, and help the kids and the family to still doing sport. Give the best sports experience for the kids. We managed to do it, and in a way, maybe for the future, it will be in a way an asset, because if one day there's another issue, another pandemic, whatever, we are ready.
You're ready?
We are ready, yeah.
Then that makes me, so I'm very curious, and I'm sure many of you are as well. For people like both of you who work in the sports industry, how is it like to work from home? Kim, would you like to share with us?
Not easy. Well, the great thing is not having to wake up early for the commute. You enjoy that for a couple months, and then you start to really miss the human contact. I mean, it's not easy, and it has so much knock-on effect. For us, for people, they might think, it's just sort of staying at home, working from home. Most things now with technology you can do remotely, but sometimes you just can't beat that face-to-face. Whether it's partnerships, whether it's having to go to a venue to check it beforehand because you're actually potentially going to have an event there. None of this can actually really be done perfectly remotely. When we do business discussions, etc., it's always nice to be able to talk to somebody directly. You have that time focus of, this is what we're here to discuss and sit together until we can actually figure something out. Versus, okay, we have a 1 hour meeting time slot and I have something literally scheduled immediately after because, you can't do that now with timing and stuff. So it has a lot of knock-on effects. It's not as simple as just saying that, we're just staying at home. But you really miss that kind of human interaction. You really miss that kind of rapport that you can be having with partners, and also having to go to the venue, making sure that in this city, in this venue, these are all the things you need, because we need to make sure not just the field play is good. We want to check what are the fan engagement, what are possibilities for partnership activation. Where within the city maybe we can put certain branded stuff over there in order for fans to know more about the partners, and none of this can actually be done. The most we can do is to ask our local partners, and that's where local partners are very, very important, at this moment where you really need good local partners, for them to go there, do video recording, and then send it to you, and then explain everything to you. And then, it's not ideal. But I think, as Steve is saying, at the moment, these are our limitations, but this is what we have to do. And we can only rely on our local partners, or we can deal with quarantine.
What about you, Steve? Did you have to work from home a lot?
Yes, we even for the academy, we even closed the office of the academy because we barely use it a few months ago. So there's no point to keep it. For internal, let's say, purpose, it's not really a big deal. Again, we are lucky to work in the sports industry. I'm not going to say it's chill, but it's easy, okay? We can do a team meeting on Zoom. It was not really an issue for me. Now the real issue, it's as you said, about the potential sponsors and partner. Because usually with my company, I'm more focused on my market are Indonesia, Thailand, or Malaysia, not really Singapore because it's a small market. Now I'm really focused on Singapore again. local partner, everything is local. But we are preparing next year, 2022, and speaking with potential big sponsor for potential big project. But how can you create a partnership? How can you ask big money, even if you come with the best proposal ever? If it's not face to face, we are working in this industry based on human, interaction.
Yes.
Also friendship or whatever. You cannot convince someone to come as a big sponsor with a Zoom meeting.
So that's one of many things that the two of you have in common, that's dealing with sponsors, with partnerships. And we know that for spectator sports, it's always been a huge magnet for sponsors, for partnerships. So do you want to share a little bit about how has that evolved during this time? How have you navigated dealing with sponsors and partnerships when the sport event itself has had to change?
Yeah, so I think for us, in terms of dealing with partners, of course, in terms of things like contracts and stuff like that, it has been much more professional in terms of outlining what are the different aspects and different value, let's say, associated, to each of this aspect. But having to have events behind closed doors, it does allow us to actually have that TV product. So we are fans around the world are still able to watch it, but you miss that atmosphere still. The players miss that atmosphere. It's very different to be playing in a totally quiet environment, compared to when you do have 5,000, 10,000 spectators. So table tennis is not a sport that can be played in a massive venue. If you have a 50,000 stadium, you see nothing. So for us, it has always been more about that intimate kind of arena, and for them to actually cheer on their athletes to actually play their best. So, for us, that has been a bit difficult in terms of trying to show that atmosphere on TV also. And then with partners, apart from, them being affected financially as well, which has been difficult to secure them, they want to see more in terms of return on investment. They're very careful about what they're spending on, and they need to know this is actually going to help them. So that means beyond just your signage in the venue. That is the basic stuff. But how you are able to add additional value to that, whether that is through digital content, so different kind of social media content, working with brands to actually create content that is relevant to them, and also relevant to fans, because we don't want to be pushing advertisements. We need something that is a branded content, but it's still something that fans actually want to watch. So for us, it's trying to find different kind of technological opportunities to be able to bring the events to fans in a more real, more engaging kind of manner, and that's something that we sort of need to convince partners that we are able to do. It's not easy because everyone is now focusing on digital, everyone is focusing on social, and there's a lot of clutter in the market. So it's how can we actually stand out from all of this in order for brands to see value in, for example, partnering with table tennis.
And you were at the Olympics this year. Do you want to share a little bit with us about what you did there? How was your partnership experience at this year's Olympics for table tennis?
So it's complicated because in Tokyo we had to keep staff and guests to a minimum. So most of our partners that are not actually Japanese partners were not able to attend. So for us, it was very much about trying to provide them support being on site. So anything that they are not able to do, we would have to be basically stepping in the shoes of these partners to represent these partners to actually get things done. And also the important thing is trying to keep them engaged, because they are all the way back in their own home countries. And so how can we keep sending them information, keep sending them content, and keep them engaged and realizing that yes, this is a big event that I am part of, and keep reminding them of that. I think for us, the positive, of course, is that in terms of broadcast, it has been fantastic. So partners are very, very happy that the broadcast reach is massive. But it's all of this, let's say, smaller activation things that they're trying to do with the Japanese local public that you cannot actually do. So from our side, it was trying to actually keep them engaged most of the time.
Wow, so interesting. If you can share, where are some of the countries that your main sponsors and partners have been based? Like, I assume it's all over.
Yeah, so most of our bigger partners are based in China. I think, as you guys would know, say table tennis is the national sport of China, so we do get a lot of attention within the Chinese market itself. A lot of partners do come from there. We do have international brands as well. A big part of their focus of this international brand when they're partnering with table tennis is actually to focus on the Asian market. So our key markets being China, Japan, Korea to some extent. And for us, it's trying to grow the sport beyond that as well. We do have top German players, we have top Brazilian players, and it's even Egyptian players as well. We did have 4 different continents that made it to the quarterfinals. And how can we actually bring table tennis beyond this kind of mindset of it being an Asian sport, and to attract more global partners as well.
Wow, that's fantastic. What about you, Steve? So football has traditionally been, when you look at football players, when I think about watching a match, I imagine 2 teams, 22 men wearing big brands across their chests. How has that changed for you?
It changed a lot because not only for me, but especially also for the big clubs to find sponsor. Because at this moment, extremely hard to find new jersey sponsor or new sponsor on the event. Because first no more event, and now it's back in Europe. They're playing again. Stadium now are quite okay. But in any case now, I agree with you. The brands now they are really focused. The contracts are really difficult. Now they are not willing to spend money like that. They're really checking the return of investment, how the brand is going to be engaged on social media, blah blah blah. And now in this world, and it's not really new because we have social media now for many years. But I'm not going to say that brands they don't really care about having a logo on a board or on a jersey. They want storytelling on social media. They want to see how you are going to use and engage the brand with the fan, the customer, whatever, and especially on digital platform. This, in a way, during the pandemic, we can still do. Okay, again, we need to be creative, really creative, to create content with the athletes, with the league or whatever, or the event, if there's still an event. but they are really, let's say, picky, with the contracts. It's complicated. There's this portion about how you activate the brand, and also now there's many paragraphs about how we stop the contract. If it's not broadcasted, we stop. If there's a new lockdown, we stop. If there's this, we stop. So the contract has really, it's like tailor-made contract now.
Wow, so there are a lot of caveats now.
Yeah,
for every single partnership.
Definitely, every brand wants to make sure that they're not going to pay if there's we stop in the middle of the event or the competition or whatever. So it's quite tricky sometimes to speak with the lawyer.
So Steve, I noticed that during the Euros, a lot of influencers were on social media showcasing fancy footwork, ball juggling, just to promote the Euro games that were happening in Singapore. Well, that was screening in Singapore. For yourself, did you have to come up with any creative or interesting social media content?
When the pandemic started, at the really beginning, it was, I'm not going to say quite easy, because it was new, okay? So, no more football pitch, let's do solo, content with one player, whatever, in front of a camera, but it was new.
Yeah.
The brands, they like everything when it becomes disruptive, okay? So, it works quite well in a way, because people were curious about that. Oh, there's a fitness bootcamp like that, or there's a famous football player in his garden doing some stuff. It was new. But because I think people were thinking that, the pandemic is going to last maybe 6 months, But after 1 year, people, again, I come back from my previous topic, but sports is on ground. People wanted to play again.
Yeah.
And when, for example, with the academy, we started to do some online program. And for the second lockdown, when we say, dear parents, do you want? They say no. It's too, in a way, it's too depressing. I don't want my son to be in front of a screen and looking at the coach at the other side of the screen and, alone. Because again, as I told you before, it's about sharing the moment, especially for us in collective sports. Fitness, running could be different. Football or basketball, no, it's team stuff, Yeah. And more than 6 months, 7 months, then no. People were like, it was fun, it was but now we want to be back on the pitch.
Yeah.
I remember when it started again, I remember for the Formula 1, when they stopped Formula 1 everywhere, then they say, why we don't do like the e-sport? I like e-sport, I have nothing against e-sport. Why we don't do the Formula 1, the race with the real driver, but on like a PlayStation? Everybody was like, wow, it's nice. Even me, I was curious. It was new, it was nice, it was fun. It was fun 1, 2, 3 months. After that, people wanted to see the real guys, Verstappen or Hamilton, on track. It's the same, So for me, it was a temporary solution. But sports will be always outdoor, on the pitch, on the ground.
And I'm pretty sure we will all get back to that soon.
Yeah, but it's nice if we have both. Having both, it's nice in a way, because you can still do online if you want, especially for fitness, and then you go to the gym. But having only the digital one, the virtual one, it's complicated in the long term.
Right.
Yeah.
So that concludes the first part of the very first episode of ISSB. We have so much more to chat with our guests today about the COVID-19 situation and the impact on the sports businesses here in Singapore and around the world. So join us next time for part 2.